What's going on, people? Lex Benjamin, of course. Now, this video is about the philosophy and meaning in the should-have-been hit movie Annihilation, starring Natalie Portman and directed by Ex Machina and Sunshine director Alex Garland.
So you're asking me as a psychologist?
Yeah.
Then as a psychologist, I'd say you're confusing suicide with self-destruction. Almost none of us commit suicide, and almost all of us self-destruct. In some way, in some part of our lives. We drink, or we smoke, we destabilize the good job, the happy marriage. But these aren't decisions, they're impulses. In fact, you're probably better equipped to explain this than I am.
What does that mean?
You're a biologist. Isn't self-destruction coded into us, programmed into each cell?
I really enjoyed the theme of self-destruction carried throughout the film. I thought it was a bold attempt, and I think it's something that we desperately need more of instead of more predictable and flavorless franchises and reboots. Just in case you haven't seen this movie yet, I am going to spoil it, so be warned. I thought it was bold to base a movie around something that no one wants to admit that they're capable of, let alone likely to do. Self-destruction isn't something we like to confront because we normally think of it as weakness when we should think of it as existential hygiene. It is the act of disassembling and hopefully reassembling oneself so that we can ensure that what we've identified with and attached to supports a given or desired quality of life. It just so happens that we typically do it by accident. We do it haphazardly and we make a mess of things. If you're curious about how or why to disassemble a limiting self-concept, I wrote an article about it published on medium.com, and it's also one of the last or most recent posts on my blog. But essentially it's about how to deconstruct the self skillfully and methodically so that we don't upset ourselves, our life, and our life circumstances too suddenly. In the movie Annihilation, all of the main characters are self-destructive in their personal lives, and they have come together to embark on a journey that is likely to lead to the destruction of their physical self. By going into the mysterious Shimmer Zone where only one half-dead man is returned from, they are essentially seeking an end to their suffering, one way or another. I think the 5 women in their journey represent the various ways that we can move beyond self-destructive patterns of behavior. The way we come to peace, the way we learn to accept our circumstances and ourselves. The first person to get what they were looking for was Shepard, who claimed to have had 2 bereavements, one for her deceased daughter and then one for the person that she once was. In my opinion, Shepard was so heavily identified with being a mother that she lost herself when her daughter died of leukemia. Shepard had nothing to live for and wanted to end and probably suffer in the process to atone for her believed or perceived failing as a parent, despite there being nothing that she could have done. When she was attacked suddenly and violently by that demon bear, I think she got what she wanted. Paralyzed by grief and fear, Shepard wasn't able to let go, move forward, and reconstruct herself. So, in a sense, the universe helped her out. It took her suffering away from her. It was a sudden enlightenment, in a sense. The second person to get what they were looking for was Anya, who realized a new self, who finally took a stand, just before having her face ripped off by the demon bear. Being an addict, she probably felt powerless and weak compared to substances, and probably felt like she had let people down routinely throughout her life. Josie's awakening or enlightenment is how I'd imagine most people's will occur, if they're smart. It is the best way. Josie just wanted to feel alive, and after fighting for her life a couple of times, I think she did. And having been reinvigorated, she no longer saw the Shimmer as a threat. Fighting and confronting it were no longer sensible approaches in her view. Being a physicist, I'm thinking Josie probably saw surrendering and becoming one with the Shimmer a more expedient, direct, and efficient path to an understanding. Dr. Ventress was seeking answers, but not necessarily about the Shimmer, more so about herself, mainly what would happen to her after she died. I know this is what I've questioned most of my life, so I relate to and understand Dr. Ventress's motivation and determination to move forward. Because she was alone, she had no one. Because of her uncompromising nature, I think it was very difficult for her to accept what was coming for her. I believe that people that have children are better able to accept death because they can see an extension of themselves beyond themselves, something that Ventress just couldn't do. Ventress had to know, but she also had to die to get that knowledge. She was annihilated. There was no evidence, no component, no remnant of her original self remaining. Unique to this movie is Natalie Portman's character, Lena, who I don't think destroyed herself or was annihilated, but instead was able to shed the self-destructive parts of herself onto the doppelganger and exit cleanly. Lena wanted to be the one to exit, not someone or something new. And she was able to do this by finally distinguishing between who she was and who she wasn't. Now, solid and comfortable with who she is and who she isn't, there's no longer any need to upset and remake herself. These self-destructive tendencies and patterns no longer serve her. Now, whether you put this in the beginning or the middle, Kane's enlightenment came when he was able to go beyond himself. By allowing his doppelganger to go and assume his position in the world, Kane was able to extend his own being. He was able to extend himself beyond his own form. What it showed was that his concerns extended beyond his own body and his own life. Kind of like the Matrix, kind of like Ex Machina, like Sunshine. This movie was philosophically dense, and it didn't deserve to be treated the way it was. I hope we aren't becoming afraid of making media that requires some thinking. It would be a sad day if we no longer found intellectual and mental challenges enjoyable. I think media like this is important so that we have a model to talk about these philosophical and metaphysical concepts without talking about them directly in such a dry and boring manner. So if you enjoy videos like these, topics like these, make sure you subscribe because you're going to get more. I'll also be doing a live stream discussion about Annihilation, the movie, self-destruction, and the self concept. What is the self? On Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, so tune in for that. Thank you for watching this one. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. You have a great day. See you on the next one. Bye.